Her nurse was hired to care for a paralyzed child, but when she discovered what the parents were hiding, Alice adjusted the watch on her wrist as she finished reviewing the last reports in the hospital's nursing room. The rhythmic sound of the monitors and the constant murmur of patients and doctors filled the air. But to her it was all music. Since she was a child, the hospital had been her refuge and inspiration, thanks to her mother, a dedicated nurse who had illuminated her path with love and passion for caring for others. As she was organizing some papers, the room's phone rang. Alice answered, expecting it to be a routine call. However, the voice on the other end was anything but that. "Alice," said a trembling voice, "it's Rose Williams. We met when you cared for my sister a few years ago." Alice frowned, trying to remember. She had encountered so many families, so many faces and names, but Rose did sound familiar. "Yes, of course, I remember you, Mrs. Williams. How can I help you?" Rose sighed deeply before speaking again, and the weight of her anguish filtered through the receiver. "It's my grandson, Jacob. He's had an accident and is bedridden. We need someone trustworthy to take care of him." Alice's heart tightened. She had worked with children before and knew how hard it was to see one suffering. "I'm so sorry. Tell me, how can I help?" "Jacob needs special attention, someone who not only cares for his physical health, but also supports him emotionally. I fear the situation at home is complicated." Alice felt a chill run down her spine. Something in Rose's tone indicated there was more than what was being said. "I'm here to help as much as I can," Alice responded firmly. "When would you like me to start?" "As soon as possible. I'll send you the home address. Come meet Jacob and the rest of the family." After hanging up, Alice stood in silence for a few seconds, processing the call. Rose had mentioned that the home situation was complicated, which ignited her protective instinct. From a young age, she had learned from her mother to listen not only to people's words, but also to what they didn't say. That night, as she walked home, she thought about what awaited her. The city lights twinkled around her, and the air was charged with the hustle and bustle of urban life. Alice had grown up in a humble neighborhood, where the community was a tapestry of intertwined lives. She knew what it meant to care for others, even when resources were scarce. When she arrived at her apartment, she checked the text message Rose had sent with the Williams mansion's address. She lay back on her bed, staring at the ceiling as doubts and expectations swirled in her mind. The job wasn't going to be easy, but Alice was used to facing challenges. The opportunity to make a difference in Jacob's life was all the motivation she needed. The next morning would be crucial. It was going to be the beginning of something bigger than she could imagine. With that thought, she closed her eyes, ready to face whatever came her way. The morning was cool and calm when Alice arrived at the address Rose had sent her. The Williams mansion stood majestically in the middle of an exclusive neighborhood, surrounded by meticulously maintained gardens and an imposing iron gate that welcomed to a property that spoke of wealth and power. Alice took a deep breath before pressing the bell. Moments later, the gate opened with a slight buzz, allowing her to enter. She walked down the stone path, observing the marble sculptures and fountains that adorned the path to the main entrance. Despite the beauty of the place, there was a sense of coldness in the air, as if the walls themselves held untold secrets. The mansion's door opened before she could knock. A serious-looking man, dressed in a flawless suit, greeted her with an evaluative look. "You must be Alice," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Logan Williams, Jacob's father." Alice shook his hand, noticing the firmness in his grip and the coldness in his eyes. Logan Williams was a businessman who emanated authority, but also an emotional distance that was hard to ignore. "Thank you for coming so quickly," Logan continued, leading her inside the house. "Jacob has been through a lot, and we are eager for someone with your experience to take care of him." Alice nodded, following Logan through hallways adorned with art and luxury furniture. The house was impressive, but the atmosphere was tense, as if something invisible hung over them. Finally, they reached a large room where an elegantly dressed woman was waiting. Her presence filled the room with a mix of sophistication and disdain. "Alice, this is Laura, my wife," said Logan, gesturing towards the woman. Laura nodded slightly, her eyes scanning Alice with a coldness that could almost be felt. "Pleased to meet you," said Laura, her voice soft yet lacking warmth. "I hope you are prepared for the challenge of caring for Jacob." Alice maintained her composure, returning the gaze with firmness. "I will do my utmost to ensure that Jacob receives the best care," Alice responded. Laura smiled faintly, but the smile did not reach her eyes. "I hope so." Logan led them through the house, explaining Jacob's daily routine and the special needs he required. As they progressed, Alice noticed small details: the silence in the hallways, the closed doors, the domestic staff avoiding eye contact. Everything contributed to the feeling that something was not right. Finally, they arrived at Jacob's room. When the door opened, Alice saw a boy about 8 years old, lying in a bed surrounded by medical equipment. His skin was pale, and his dark eyes reflected a mix of curiosity and resignation. There was something in his gaze that deeply moved Alice, a kind of flicker of hope despite the circumstances. "Hello, Jacob," Alice greeted, approaching him with a sincere smile. "I'm Alice. I'll be here to help you." Jacob looked at her with a cautious but grateful expression. Although he said nothing, Alice felt a silent connection beginning to form between them. Logan watched the interaction, but his expression was difficult to read. Then he turned to Alice. "Jacob has been slowly improving," Logan said. "We hope your presence here will accelerate his recovery." Alice nodded, determined to do everything possible to help Jacob, but as the minutes passed, she couldn't help but wonder what lay behind the perfect facade of the Williams family. As she left the room, Rose was waiting for her in the hallway. Her eyes reflected gratitude and deep concern. "Thank you for being here, Alice," said Rose, taking Alice's hands in hers. "I know Jacob will be in good hands with you." Alice smiled, feeling reassured by Rose's support. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to face whatever was necessary to protect Jacob and uncover the truth behind the appearances. Alice began her first full day at the Williams mansion with the determination to do everything possible for Jacob's well-being. As she settled into the routine, she couldn't help but notice small details that fed her suspicions that something strange was happening in the house. From the first day, Alice felt a watchful presence around her. The household staff seemed to walk on eggshells, carefully choosing their words and avoiding any prolonged conversation. The atmosphere in the house was silent, almost ominous, as if everyone was guarding a secret. During the morning hours, Alice focused on Jacob's care. As she organized his medications and checked his medical equipment, Jacob watched her intently, as if looking for a sign that she was trustworthy. "Jacob, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to tell me," Alice said softly, placing a hand on his. Jacob nodded slightly, a spark of gratitude shining in his eyes. However, Alice sensed that the boy was full of fear, an emotion that seemed to intensify whenever Laura entered the room. It was during one of Laura's visits that Alice began to seriously suspect that something was not right. While Laura watched Jacob with a forced smile, Alice noticed the boy slightly shrinking, looking away. After Laura left, Alice continued checking Jacob's medications. It was then that she found a small, unlabeled vial hidden behind the other bottles. Lifting it to the light, Alice felt a twinge of alarm. There was no reason for an unidentified medication to be among Jacob's supplies. That night, when the clock struck midnight and the rest of the house was silent, Alice decided to contact Mary, her journalist friend. She knew she could trust her to investigate discreetly. "Mary, I need your help," Alice whispered into the phone, trying to keep her voice low to avoid being overheard. "I think something strange is going on here." "What's happening?" Mary asked, alert to Alice's serious tone. "There's an unlabeled vial among Jacob's medications, and the atmosphere in this house is weird. Jacob's parents aren't who they seem to be, especially Laura." Mary promised to investigate and see what she could find out about the Williams family. The call ended with a sense of relief for Alice, but also with a growing sense of urgency. The next morning, while preparing Jacob's breakfast, Alice decided to observe the family dynamics more closely. She noticed how Logan spent more time in his office than with his family. and how Laura seemed more interested in maintaining appearances than in Jacob's well-being. That same day, while helping Jacob get dressed, the boy surprised her by speaking for the first time. "Alice, are you going to stay?" Jacob asked in a whisper, his large eyes filled with uncertainty. Alice leaned toward him, her expression gentle and sure. "Yes, Jacob, I'm going to stay with you. You're not alone." The boy nodded, and though he said no more, Alice felt that she had taken an important step toward earning his trust. With each passing day, Alice's conviction to uncover the truth and protect Jacob grew. She knew the mysterious vial was just the tip of the iceberg, and that what really mattered was ensuring Jacob's well-being, even if it meant challenging the power of the Williams family. As she continued her work, Alice mentally prepared for what was to come. She knew she wasn't alone, and with Mary's support, she hoped to uncover what the family was hiding. Mary's investigation progressed rapidly. From her office in the city, she delved into files and records that could shed light on the Williams family's past. She knew it was crucial to maintain discretion to avoid raising suspicions. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Alice continued observing and gathering clues. Each day, something new seemed to surface, painting a picture of intrigue and lies. It was a quiet afternoon when Mary called Alice, her voice laden with recent discoveries. "Alice, I've found something interesting about Logan and Laura. It appears they've been involved in suspicious financial activities for years." "What kind of activities?" Alice asked, her heart beating with anticipation. "Logan has been conducting transactions through shell companies, moving large sums of money. Additionally, there are rumors that Laura has connections with criminal figures overseas. All of this is very murky." Alice felt a chill run down her spine. Mary's information confirmed her suspicions. Something dark was lurking within the Williams family, but there was more to be discovered. As the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together, Rose decided to take further steps to protect her grandson. After talking with Alice and understanding the gravity of the situation, she hired Alex, a private detective known for his ability to solve difficult cases. Alex was a man with an imposing presence and a keen sense of justice. His reputation preceded him, and Rose trusted that he could help clarify the circumstances surrounding Anna's death, Jacob's mother. "What do you think really happened to Anna?" Alex asked as he met with Rose and Alice at a discreet cafe in the city. "I don't know for sure," Rose replied, her voice laden with emotion, "but I never believed her death was an accident. Anna was a devoted mother, and her disappearance was too sudden." Alice, listening intently, added, "Jacob has never talked much about his mother, but her absence is deeply felt in the house. Something doesn't add up with all this." Alex nodded, his mind already working on a plan to unravel the truth. He promised to begin his investigation immediately, focusing on the days leading up to Anna's death and any connections to Logan and Laura. Back at the mansion, Alice continued gathering information. During a routine cleaning in Jacob's room, she discovered a box of old documents hidden under a pile of books and old toys. The documents appeared to be financial records and business letters that Logan had neglected in his rush to hide his secrets. Alice carefully examined each paper, noticing a pattern of fraud and deception that dated back several years. There were records of illegal transactions and secret bank accounts that could sink the family if made public. With the new evidence in hand, Alice met again with Mary and Alex to discuss their findings. Alex, impressed by Alice's determination, promised to use the information to build a solid case against Logan and Laura. Meanwhile, Mary worked on an article that would expose the Williams family's secrets to the public. She knew the truth had the power to free Jacob from the shadow enveloping him and return him to a normal life. With each passing day, the web of lies that Logan and Laura had woven began to unravel. Alice's determination to protect Jacob and uncover the truth was stronger than ever, and with the support of her allies, she knew she was on the right path. The atmosphere at the Williams mansion had become increasingly tense. Alice, though determined to protect Jacob and uncover the truth, could not ignore the sensation that someone was constantly watching her. She knew that Logan and Laura suspected her curiosity, making them dangerous. One evening, after a long day of work, Alice prepared to go home. The sun had set, and the night air brought with it a feeling of unrest that echoed the tension in the home. She walked toward her car, parked in the driveway of the mansion, her mind occupied with the latest discoveries about the family. Suddenly she heard a noise behind her, but before she could react, a masked figure emerged from the shadows and grabbed her from behind. Panic seized her as she tried to break free from the grip, but her attacker was too strong. From the moment Alice was threatened, her resolve only strengthened. The shadowy figure's warning to stay in her place and take care of Jacob or face consequences had shaken her, but it also cemented her determination to uncover the truth and protect the young boy. "Stop meddling in things that don't concern you," the figure had hissed menacingly. "Stay in your place and take care of Jacob, or you'll regret it." The pressure in Alice's chest rose with each word. The threat was clear, and although she was scared, she forced herself to remain calm. She knew that showing fear would only empower her attacker. "I will," Alice responded with a trembling voice, trying to sound convincing. Finally, the attacker released her and disappeared into the darkness as quickly as he had appeared. Alice leaned against her car, taking deep breaths to regain her composure and calm her heart, which pounded in her ears. As she drove back to her apartment, her mind raced. She knew the warning was a blatant attempt to intimidate her, but instead of dissuading her, it had only reinforced her resolve to continue with the investigation. Now, she was sure she had uncovered something that Logan and Laura were desperate to keep hidden. Upon arriving home, Alice called Mary and Alex to inform them about the attack. She needed her friends to be aware of the situation and to take additional steps to protect her while they continued to unearth the truth. "Alice, this is serious," Alex said gravely on the other end of the line. "We need to make sure you're safe. I have some contacts who can help us keep an eye on you." "I can't let this stop me," Alice replied, her voice firm despite the shock. "Jacob needs us, and I'm not going to abandon him now." "I'm with you," Mary chimed in. "I'll continue investigating and working on the article. The truth will come out, and they won't be able to stop it." The next day, Alice returned to the mansion with renewed resolve. While she maintained the appearance of continuing with her work as usual, inside she was more vigilant than ever, looking for any sign that Logan or Laura were aware of her attack. While caring for Jacob, her mind continued to work, piecing together the puzzle she had gathered so far. She knew she was close to uncovering the heart of the conspiracy, and although the danger was real, her sense of justice was even stronger. With Alex and Mary as her allies, Alice was determined not to be intimidated by the threats. She knew the road ahead would be dangerous, but she also knew it was the only way to secure a safe future for Jacob and ultimately free the family from the dark secrets that had held them captive for so long. The attack the night before had left Alice more determined than ever. She knew danger was lurking, but she also knew she had to continue to protect Jacob. The next day, she met with Dr. Mauricio at his clinic to analyze the mysterious vial she had found among Jacob's medications. Dr. Mauricio was an experienced and trusted physician, known for his ability to diagnose complex conditions. Together, they analyzed the contents of the vial and discovered it contained a rare and potent poison known as tetrodotoxin, a neurotoxin found in pufferfish. "This substance is incredibly dangerous, Alice," Dr. Mauricio explained as he observed the results of the analysis. "Tetrodotoxin blocks sodium channels on nerve cells, preventing the transmission of nerve signals." Alice listened intently, trying to grasp the severity of the situation. "What does this mean for Jacob?" she asked, her voice full of concern. "At the level of the central nervous system, tetrodotoxin can cause muscle paralysis by inhibiting communication between neurons and muscles," Dr. Mauricio continued. "It primarily affects the peripheral nervous system, but at high doses, it can also impact the central nervous system, causing symptoms like dizziness, generalized weakness, and in severe cases, respiratory paralysis." Alice felt a knot in her stomach as she listened to the explanation. Everything made sense: Jacob's symptoms, his inability to move, and his extreme fragility. If Jacob has been exposed to this, his body could have been fighting the effects of the neurotoxin all this time, Dr. Mauricio added. "We need to start a treatment plan immediately to neutralize the poison and allow his nervous system to recover." "Is there an antidote?" Alice asked urgently. There is no specific antidote for tetrodotoxin, but we can provide life support and symptomatic treatments to help his body clear the toxin, Dr. Mauricio explained. It's also crucial to stop any ongoing exposure to the substance. Alice nodded, understanding the urgency of the situation. She returned to the mansion determined to implement the new treatment plan and at the same time ensure that Jacob was not exposed to the poison again. With Rose's help, they began to closely monitor Jacob, ensuring that his medications were administered correctly and watching for any signs of improvement. Gradually, Jacob began to show small signs of progress. Although it was still a slow and delicate process, each day brought a spark of hope. Meanwhile, Alice shared the information about the poison with Mary and Alex, who intensified their investigations to find the source of the substance and any connections to Logan and Laura. Alex continued his investigation into Anna's death, looking for any evidence that could link it to the use of the poison. His findings began to suggest that Anna might have been a victim of a similar plan, designed to silence her and maintain control over the family. With each new piece of information, the web of lies surrounding the Williams family began to unravel. Alice's determination to protect Jacob and reveal the truth strengthened, knowing that each step they took brought them closer to justice. As the days passed, Alice, Rose, and Dr. Mauricio continued to work tirelessly to improve Jacob's health. Their fight against the poison became a symbol of resistance and hope, inspiring everyone involved in his care. With the unwavering support of Mary and Alex, and the certainty that they were on the right path, Alice knew that, although the road was dangerous, she was not alone in her mission to save Jacob and uncover the dark secrets of the Williams family. As the days passed, Alice and Alex became inseparable, not only because of the case, but because of the emotional bond they had formed. Alex became a constant support for Alice, especially when the challenges of the case became overwhelming. One day, as they walked through a nearby park to clear their minds after an intense day of research, Alex stopped and looked at Alice seriously. "Alice, I want you to know that I'm here for you no matter what happens," he said sincerely, "not just in this case, but in everything." Alice felt a surge of emotions upon hearing his words. The road had been tough, but knowing that Alex was by her side made it all more bearable. "Thank you, Alex, it means a lot to me," Alice replied, taking his hand. "And I'll also be here for you." Their moment was interrupted by the sound of a phone. It was a call from Mary, with important news about the case. Mary informed them that she had discovered more evidence linking Laura to international criminal figures. Her contacts confirmed that Laura had been involved in influence trafficking and money laundering, using the Williams fortune to protect her own interests. "This is bigger than we thought, Alice," Mary said. "We need to make sure everything comes to light. We're close to getting the definitive evidence." Alice and Alex knew that the situation was reaching a critical point. They had to act with caution, but with determination to ensure that justice prevailed. With the new evidence in hand, the team began to prepare their next move. Alice was determined to confront Laura and Logan, knowing that they could no longer hide the truth. Upon returning to the mansion, Alice felt the familiar sensation of tension in the air. She knew that the coming days would be decisive, but she also knew that she was not alone in this fight. The atmosphere in the Williams mansion had reached a boiling point. Alice could feel the weight of the secrets about to crumble, and she knew that the final confrontation was inevitable. With the new evidence gathered by Mary and Alex, they were ready to confront Logan and Laura, but they knew they had to proceed with extreme caution. Alice and Alex met with Mary and Rose at a small cafe, where they reviewed the documents once more. Alex had compiled a dossier with compelling evidence, financial records, illegal transactions, and connections to criminal activities that incriminated Logan and Laura. "We're ready," Alex said, his voice firm. "Tonight, we'll confront Logan and Laura. They have to know they can no longer hide." Mary nodded, her camera and recorder ready to document the confrontation and ensure that the truth came to light. Rose, for her part, was determined to protect her grandson at all costs. "Jacob deserves to know the truth about what has been happening around him," said Rose with unwavering resolve. That night, a storm loomed over the city, reflecting the turbulence about to be unleashed in the mansion. Alice, Alex, Mary, and Rose entered the house, determined to face Laura and Logan once and for all. In the main hall, Logan and Laura were seated, surprised by the sudden arrival of Alice and her allies. Shadows danced on the walls, and the roar of thunder resonated in the air. "What is this?" demanded Logan, rising from his seat, his voice full of arrogance. "It's the end of your lies, Logan," Alex replied coldly. "We have evidence of your illegal transactions and your involvement in criminal activities." Laura stood up, her face transformed into a mask of disdain. "You don't know who you're dealing with," she said, her voice icy. "You have no evidence." Unfazed, Mary began to display the evidence, documents, photographs, and recordings that incriminated both of them. With each piece of evidence presented, Logan and Laura's confidence crumbled, revealing the desperation behind their masks. "You've used Jacob as a pawn in your game," Alice said, her voice steady. "But no more. I won't allow you to continue harming him." At that moment, Jacob, who had heard the commotion, appeared at the door. His eyes reflected a mix of fear and determination. "What's happening?" asked Jacob, his voice weak but resolved. Alice approached him, kneeling at his side. "Jacob, we're here to protect you and ensure that justice is done," she explained. "Your parents have been doing very bad things, but they won't be able to hurt you anymore." Jacob nodded, gripping Alice's hand tightly. He had heard rumors, but facing the truth was hard. However, Alice's presence gave him the confidence he needed. Logan, furious and desperate, tried to leave the room, but Alex blocked his path. "You can't escape this, Logan. It's time to face the consequences of your actions." At that moment, the front door burst open and several law enforcement officers entered, alerted by Mary in advance. The storm roared outside, and flashes of lightning illuminated the dramatic scene as the officers arrested Logan and Laura. Laura screamed, trying to resist, but she knew she had lost. Logan, on the other hand, remained silent, his expression defeated as he was handcuffed. With Logan and Laura being taken away by the police, the mansion was filled with a profound silence. Alice hugged Jacob, whispering words of comfort. She knew that although the road ahead would be challenging, she had done the right thing in protecting him. Rose approached them, tears of relief streaming down her cheek. "Thank you, Alice. I don't know what we would have done without you." Alice smiled, feeling that justice had finally been served. With Alex, Mary, and Rose by her side, they knew they had won more than a legal victory. They had saved a life and exposed the truth. As the police officers handcuffed Laura, her mind began to travel to the past, evoking memories she had tried to bury. The image of Jacob, now standing by Alice and Alex's side, haunted her, reminding her of the true reason behind her actions. With each click of the handcuffs, Laura relived the moments that led her to use her own son as a pawn. Everything began years ago when Laura, seeking to expand her influence and power, had made a series of risky investments. Confident that her knowledge of the market would make her untouchable, she ventured into high-risk businesses, supported by shadowy figures who promised quick and substantial profits. But those investments turned out to be a trap. Laura found herself caught in a cycle of debts and threats, with her partners demanding payments that exceeded her financial capacity. Logan's fortune, which she had seen as an unlimited resource, began to slowly fade away due to her impulsive and failed decisions. When Jacob was born, Laura saw in him not just her son, but also an opportunity to divert attention from her financial crisis. His accident, which left Jacob bedridden, provided a perfect facade. By centering the narrative on her son's tragedy, Laura managed to divert attention from her own economic troubles. Using Jacob's condition as a tool, Laura manipulated Logan to keep the flow of money towards her own interests. She presented herself as a devoted and concerned mother, gaining sympathy and support while secretly using those funds to cover her mounting debts. Jacob's illness became an effective smokescreen. Laura exaggerated his condition to justify the need for large sums of money, claiming exorbitant medical expenses and experimental treatments that never existed. Meanwhile, Logan, consumed by his work and his grief, did not question Laura's decisions, trusting her judgment as a mother. One day, while in bed feeding Jacob, he said, "Mum, look at this," moving his foot fluidly. "I can start moving now. I'll finally be able to play with my friends again," he said enthusiastically, seeking his mother's approval. However, a face of forced joy was what he found. "I'm very happy, son," she lied, since in fact she was not interested in Jacob, only in the consequences of that situation. Because of this, she sank deeper into illegally contacting and purchasing a substance that would leave Jacob with generalized weakness in order not to worsen the financial problems she already had. Laura maintained her charade with calculated precision, hiding financial documents and erasing any trace of her illicit activity. Whenever debts threatened to come to light, she used Jacob's health as a shield, ensuring that no one investigated too closely. This also led her to reflect on how things had unfolded. It was a sunny afternoon when the accident that would change Jacob's life forever occurred. The Williams family had organized a small gathering in the backyard of their mansion to celebrate Jacob's birthday. The guests were enjoying the event, and the atmosphere was one of joy and celebration. Jacob, then a curious 7-year-old boy, was playing with his friends near the pool. The children's laughter echoed in the air, while Laura and Logan socialized with their guests. Like any child, Jacob was full of energy and enthusiasm, running back and forth, not paying much attention to his surroundings. In a moment of distraction, while chasing a ball that had bounced near the edge of the pool, Jacob slipped and fell into the water. The splash and the screams of the other children alerted the adults, but panic took over the situation. Logan and Laura, realizing what had happened, rushed towards the pool. Logan immediately jumped into the water to rescue his son, pulling him to the surface and bringing him to the shore. Jacob was unconscious, and his skin had turned a pale tone that filled his parents and all the attendees with terror. It was one of the guests, a nurse by profession, who began to administer first aid to Jacob while an ambulance was called. The minutes that followed were critical, filled with anguish and despair. When help finally arrived, Jacob was urgently taken to the hospital, where doctors did everything possible to stabilize him. The accident resulted in brain damage, affecting his mobility and leaving him bedridden. The doctors explained that the lack of oxygen during the time he was underwater had caused neurological damage, further complicating his recovery. As weeks passed after more studies, the doctor said that Jacob's recovery was slow, but with time and therapy, Jacob could return to his daily activities, since only due to the time in disuse, his muscles had atrophied. It was just a matter of doing physiotherapy for him to be normal again. Gaining strength was the solution. However, Laura disagreed with that. It was convenient for her that her supposed son continued in bed. It was not convenient for him to return to normal. For Jacob, the world suddenly transformed into a place of physical limitations, while for Laura and Logan, the accident became a perfect excuse to divert attention from their financial problems. Jacob's condition provided an alibi to avoid difficult questions about their financial situation and to justify excessive expenses on treatments that never really occurred. This also reminded her of Anna. Anna was a young single mother who worked as a housekeeper at the Williams mansion. Despite life's difficulties, Anna always showed a warm smile and a willingness to help those around her. Her love for Jacob, her son, was the force that drove her to keep going every day. Anna had come to the mansion seeking a better life for Jacob. Having no one to help care for her son, she brought him with her to work, where he spent hours cleaning and maintaining order in the opulent home of Logan and Laura. Logan and Laura, a wealthy and ambitious couple, led a luxurious lifestyle. Laura, particularly, was a controlling and calculating woman who saw Anna and her son more as a nuisance than as people. However, Jacob, with his cheerful spirit and curiosity, soon won the affection of everyone in the house except Laura. One day, while cleaning Logan's office, Anna found documents revealing illegal financial activities. She knew she had stumbled upon something dangerous, but also felt she had a duty to protect Jacob and the house staff, who might be affected by Logan and Laura's actions. Anna decided to confront Logan, hoping her honesty would make him reconsider his actions. However, Logan did not take her intervention well. Fearful that Anna would expose his secrets, he shared the situation with Laura, who saw an opportunity to get rid of Anna and maintain their lifestyle intact. Laura and Logan began to plan how to remove Anna from the equation. They knew her presence was a risk to them, and they feared her determination could lead to their ruin. Taking advantage of the fact that Anna had no close family, Laura devised a plan to simulate an accident. One afternoon, while Anna was cleaning the backyard, Laura said, "Hey Anna, your job won't be cleaning the garden today. I need you to take care of the windows on the second floor, but I don't have a ladder, Mrs. Laura." To which Laura, with a complicit smile, said, "Don't worry, I'll get you one." It was a ladder with a leg about to break. When getting on it, she checked that everything was fine. "Did it work?" Laura asked. "Yes, Mrs. Laura, thank you very much," was the last thing she said. Because 2 minutes later, due to the weight, the ladder broke, causing Anna to fall to the garden floor, causing fractures at the level of the spinal column. The fall was attributed to a carelessness, and although she was taken to the hospital, Anna's injuries turned out to be fatal. The loss of Anna was devastating for Jacob. He was left without his mother, without the love and care he had known all his life. Logan and Laura, meanwhile, used their power and influence to make Anna's death look like an unfortunate accident. However, Laura did not anticipate that Jacob, despite his young age, would remember what had happened. Although the trauma of losing his mother left deep scars, Jacob kept alive the memories of their time together, as well as the truth about the circumstances of her death. The atmosphere in the Williams mansion had drastically changed after the arrest of Logan and Laura. The secrets that had kept the family under their control had finally been exposed, and the air was charged with a mix of relief and anticipation. However, there was still work to be done to ensure that full justice was served and that Jacob had a secure future. As the authorities conducted a thorough search of the mansion, Alex, Alice, and Mary joined forces to explore an area that had been hidden in plain sight, the house's basement. They suspected it was a place where Logan and Laura might have hidden more incriminating evidence. They descended the stairs with flashlights in hand, the dust and silence adding a layer of tension to their mission. As they illuminated the dark space, they found a room full of dusty boxes and shelves. With each box they opened, more documents detailing shady financial transactions, secret agreements, and letters incriminating Laura and Logan in a network of criminal activities were revealed. Alice, driven by the urgency to ensure that everything came to light, documented each finding, taking photos and collecting evidence for the authorities. She knew this was the final blow they needed to dismantle the empire of lies built by the couple. Alex, reviewing the documents, found specific evidence that directly linked Logan to the manipulation of family investments and money laundering. But what really shocked them was a set of letters that revealed Laura's plan to get rid of Anna. These documents, with precise dates and details, provided the final nail in the coffin for Laura and Logan. Mary, with her journalistic experience, knew that these proofs would not only close the case, but also tell a story that the public needed to hear. She began drafting an article that would reveal the whole truth, ensuring that Anna's legacy was restored and that Alice's bravery was recognized. As they worked in the basement, Jacob joined them, his curiosity overcoming the fear he once felt for exploring the dark corners of the house. Alice crouched by his side, making sure he understood what they were doing. "Jacob, these proofs are going to help ensure justice for your mother," she explained gently. "She always wanted to protect you and make sure you were safe." Jacob nodded, his young face reflecting a mix of sadness and relief. Although it was difficult to process everything that was happening, he understood that he was surrounded by people who cared about him and who would fight to ensure he had a better future. With the evidence gathered, Alex and Alice presented their final report to the authorities, who promised that Logan and Laura would face long prison sentences for their crimes. Meanwhile, Mary prepared her article, which was published within days, causing a media stir that ensured the truth would not be ignored. The Williams mansion, once a place of secrets and manipulation, began to transform into a home of hope and redemption. Seeing Jacob's strength and the support from Alice and Alex, Rose felt they could finally close a painful chapter of their lives and begin to build a new one. As daylight filled the mansion, Alice and Alex took a moment to reflect on all they had achieved. They knew the road ahead would still have challenges, but they also knew that together they could overcome anything. "We did it, Alice," Alex said, holding her hand with gratitude and affection. "You have been incredible through all of this." Alice smiled, feeling that justice had finally been served for Jacob and Anna. "We did it together, Alex. Now we can focus on what really matters, ensuring that Jacob has a life full of love and possibilities." With that promise in their hearts, Alice and Alex prepared for the future, knowing they had faced the darkness and found the light on the other side. With the evidence collected and the story published, the impact of the truth began to be felt throughout the community. The Williams mansion, which had been a symbol of power and opulence, became the center of attention as the media covered every development in the case of Logan and Laura. The court hearings against Logan and Laura proceeded quickly, given the overwhelming evidence that Alice, Alex, and Mary had presented. The courtroom was filled with people eager to see justice for Jacob and Anna, while the lawyers for Logan and Laura struggled to defend the indefensible. Each session revealed more details about the couple's illicit activities, from money laundering to the plan to silence Anna. The letters that Alice and Alex found in the basement played a crucial role, providing clear evidence of the intent behind their actions. One of the most poignant moments of the trial was when Jacob, accompanied by Alice and Rose, testified about his relationship with his mother and the atmosphere in the mansion. Although his testimony was brief, his presence in the court spoke louder than any words. "My mother always told me that the truth is important no matter what," Jacob said bravely. "I hope all this ends so I can remember her for what she really was, a good person." His words resonated in the courtroom, touching the hearts of all present. Even the lawyers for Logan and Laura seemed disheartened by the sincerity and courage of the boy. Finally, after weeks of testimonies and evidence, the jury reached a verdict. Logan and Laura were found guilty on all charges, including fraud, conspiracy, and involuntary manslaughter in Anna's case. The sentence was clear and fair. Both would face prison for a period of 35 years without the possibility of parole. The announcement of the verdict brought palpable relief to the courtroom. Alice and Alex embraced, knowing that their hard work had paid off and that they had brought justice for Anna and Jacob. Rose, with tears of relief, shook hands with the lawyers and thanked them for their dedication. With the case closed, Mary published a series of articles detailing the downfall of the Williamses, focusing on the bravery of those who had fought for justice. The story not only impacted the local community, but also served as an example of how the power of truth can triumph over corruption. The public responded with support and sympathy for Jacob, Alice, and the team that had worked tirelessly to expose the dark secrets of the Williams family. Messages of encouragement and solidarity flooded social media, showing that the story had touched the hearts of many. With Logan and Laura imprisoned, Jacob could begin to leave the past behind. Alice and Alex committed to helping him find his way in the world, providing him with the love and stability he so needed. Rose, seeing the positive impact of Alice and Alex on Jacob's life, asked them to consider becoming his legal guardians. After an emotional conversation, they enthusiastically agreed, knowing that together they would form a loving and united family. At a small ceremony in the park, surrounded by friends and loved ones, Jacob celebrated his new beginning with a smile on his face. Alice and Alex, by his side, promised to support him every step of the way, ensuring that Anna's legacy of love and truth lived on in him. As the pieces began to crumble, Laura realized she could not maintain the facade forever. Alice's arrival at the mansion complicated her plans, as her dedication and insight unearthed the truths Laura had carefully hidden. The confrontation in the hall was the climax of years of lies and deception. With Logan and herself facing the consequences of their actions, Laura knew she had lost control. As the agents escorted her to the patrol car, Laura experienced a moment of clarity. Her eyes met Jacob's, and for the first time, she saw the damage her decisions had caused him. The child, although physically weak, displayed an inner strength she had never anticipated. Realizing her failure as a mother and as a human struck her hard. In her pursuit of power and wealth, she had sacrificed the most valuable thing in her life, her relationship with Jacob. Although she knew the road ahead would be difficult, she hoped her son could find the peace and love she had denied him. As rain fell on the asphalt, symbolically washing away the shadows of the past, Laura accepted her fate, trusting that Jacob, surrounded by Alice and Alex, would have the chance to start anew. With the shadow of the past finally behind them, Jacob, Alice, and Alex began to build a new life together. The transition was not easy, but each day brought a renewed sense of hope and possibility. The Williams mansion, once a place of secrets and pain, transformed into a true home filled with laughter and love. Thanks to early intervention and ongoing treatment, Jacob began to show notable improvement in his health. With the help of Dr. Mauricio, they developed a physical rehabilitation plan that included regular exercises and occupational therapy sessions. Gradually, Jacob began to regain mobility in his legs, and his youthful energy shone brighter. Alice and Alex were by his side every step of the way, supporting and encouraging him. They celebrated each small achievement, from Jacob's first steps with a walker to the day he walked unaided for the first time. Each advance was a victory, not just for Jacob, but for everyone who loved him. The atmosphere in the mansion changed dramatically. Laughter filled the rooms, and the backyard became a place for games and outdoor activities. Alice and Alex worked to create a safe and loving environment where Jacob could grow and thrive. Rose, who had been a constant figure in Jacob's life, was relieved to see the transformation. She actively participated in his education and extracurricular activities, ensuring that Jacob had a childhood rich in positive experiences. With his health improving, Jacob was able to return to school. He was enthusiastically welcomed by his classmates and teachers who supported and encouraged him to engage in school activities. Although it was initially a challenging adjustment, Jacob quickly adapted, finding friends and discovering new passions. One of the interests that captured his attention was art. Under the guidance of a talented art teacher, Jacob discovered an ability for drawing and painting. His creations reflected his imagination and resilience, and soon they began to be recognized at school and in the community. As time passed, the relationship between Alice and Alex grew stronger. What began as a professional collaboration and friendship blossomed into a deep mutual love. They decided to take the next step in their relationship, committing to form a family together with Jacob. They organized a small ceremony in the garden of the mansion, surrounded by close friends and family. The ceremony was a tribute to their journey together, symbolizing a new beginning and the bright future that awaited them. Jacob, excited to be part of this union, participated as the ring bearer, his smile reflecting the happiness he felt. Throughout this process, Anna remained in their hearts. Alice and Alex made sure that Jacob always remembered his mother and the love she had had for him. They celebrated her memory with small traditions, sharing stories about her life, and teaching Jacob the values Anna had instilled in him. With each passing day, the family found comfort in Anna's legacy and in the community that had supported them. They knew that, despite the challenges, they had created a home full of love, where Jacob could grow and become the person he was meant to be. Life at the Williams mansion had changed extraordinarily. The walls that had once witnessed secrets and pain now resonated with laughter and love. Jacob, Alice, and Alex had found their rhythm, forming a close-knit and loving family. Jacob continued to thrive both at school and at home. His health improved every day, and with the constant support of Alice and Alex, he discovered new opportunities and passions. Art had become a refuge for him, a place where he could safely express his creativity and emotions. His paintings, full of color and life, reflected his journey of recovery and his resilience. Over time, his works were exhibited at school, receiving praise from teachers and classmates for his talent and originality. One afternoon, as the sun began to set, Alice found Jacob in the garden, working on his latest painting. The golden light illuminated his hands as he carefully moved the brush, focused on each stroke. Alice approached, admiring the image that was taking shape on the canvas, a representation of their new family, together under the starry sky. "It's beautiful, Jacob," said Alice, kneeling beside him. "You have incredible talent." Jacob smiled shyly, setting the brush aside. His eyes sparkled with an emotion that seemed to be waiting for the right moment to emerge. "Thank you, Alice," he replied, looking at his painting. I wanted to do something special for us." Alice felt a surge of love for the boy who had come to mean so much to her. Her heart thudded with emotion, moved by the gesture and the joy of seeing Jacob so happy and full of life. Jacob took a deep breath and then, with a seriousness that contrasted with his youth, he turned to Alice. "Alice, can I ask you something important?" he said, his voice soft but determined. "Of course, Jacob, you can ask me anything," Alice replied, looking at him tenderly. Jacob lowered his gaze for a moment, gathering courage before lifting it again to meet Alice's eyes. Could you be my new mum?" he asked, his words full of hope and vulnerability. "I know I have Mom Anna in my heart, but I want you to be my mum too." Alice's heart swelled with emotion, and tears began to roll down her cheeks. It wasn't just Jacob's request that moved her, but the depth of his love and trust in her. Alice hugged him, feeling the warmth and love that Jacob had brought into her life. "Nothing would make me happier than to be your mum, Jacob," she whispered, feeling her heart burst with joy. "I love you so much, and I will always be here for you." The hug between Alice and Jacob sealed a bond that had already flourished in the time they spent together. Alex, arriving in the garden and seeing the scene, joined them, wrapping them both in a family hug that symbolized their new life together. From that day on, Alice was not only a maternal figure for Jacob, but also a pillar of love and stability. Together, with Alex by their side, Jacob knew he had a family that would support him every step of the way. The path they had traveled was filled with challenges, but also with triumphs and special moments that had bonded their lives in a way none of them could have imagined. With the love and memory of Anna in their hearts, they were ready to face the future together as a true family. Life in the Williams mansion had reached a level of peace and happiness that once seemed unattainable. With the passing of the months, Alice, Alex, and Jacob had formed an unbreakable bond, facing together the challenges of the past and building a future full of love and hope. A special day arrived for Jacob, the school art exhibition where his works were to be displayed. The event was a milestone not only for him, but also for his family, who had seen him grow and flourish from the moment the truth was revealed. In the gallery, Jacob's paintings held a prominent place, reflecting his personal journey and his love for his family. Friends, teachers, and community members gathered to celebrate Jacob's talent and resilience, who had become a symbol of hope for everyone. Alice and Alex were there by his side, beaming with pride and love. They knew this achievement was not only a testimony to Jacob's artistic skill, but also to his ability to overcome adversity and embrace life with courage. Returning home after the event, the family gathered in the garden to enjoy a dinner under the stars. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and joy, but also with a sense of reflection on the journey they had traveled together. "We've been through a lot to get here," Alex said, raising his glass, "but every challenge has made us stronger and brought us closer as a family." Alice nodded, feeling a deep gratitude for the moments they shared and for the love that had guided them along the way. "That's true, Alex," Alice replied. "Every obstacle we face taught us the value of truth and the power of love. I'm grateful for every day we spend together and for the chance to be a family." Jacob, sitting between them, looked at his parents with a satisfied smile. He knew he was not alone and that his life was filled with possibilities. The story of Jacob, Alice, and Alex was a powerful reminder that, even in the darkest moments, truth and love can illuminate the path. Their journey was proof that courage and perseverance can overcome any obstacle, and that second chances are possible when you choose integrity and compassion. The Williams mansion, once a symbol of secrets and deceit, had transformed into a home of love and unity. It was a testament that redemption and change are possible, no matter how complicated the past may be. Jacob's story taught that individual actions can make a significant difference. Alice, with her dedication and bravery, had demonstrated that love knows no bounds and that courageous decisions can change lives for the better. Over time, the family faced new challenges and joys, always united by the love that had brought them there. Jacob, surrounded by support and affection, continued to pursue his dreams, knowing he had his family by his side. Alice and Alex, as dedicated parents, continued building a life full of purpose and meaning. Their story was an inspiration to others, showing that love and truth are powerful forces capable of transforming the world. And so, with the moon shining in the sky and the stars witnessing their journey, the Williams family celebrated their new beginning, knowing that the future was full of hope, love, and endless possibilities. And so concludes our story of hope, love, and redemption. Before we go, we want to ask you what kind of stories you'd like to see on the channel. The most voted opinions will be taken into account. Thanks for joining us on this exciting journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories like this. See you in the next one.